The primary in Indiana this May is getting an unusual amount of attention.
We're talking state and local races in the national spotlight after state lawmakers went against President Trump's administration. They voted against redistricting.
We've got live team coverage for you tonight with the races to look out for, and also we're looking at the voter turnout. So you can see our team coverage there. We're going to start with our Jennie Runevitch on the far right of your screen there. She's joining us live from Irvington. Jennie.
Yeah, Anne Marie and Felicia, I am at the Irvington Presbyterian Church. This is one of 182 vote centers all across Marion County. And I can tell you, it's getting busy as the polls are open for a little less than an hour now. If you haven't voted yet, you do still have time. So what about voter turnout? We'll take a look at the numbers. I just got some new data in from the Marion County Election Board, and they tell me that overall in Marion County today, there have been 62,718 in-person ballots cast today. And that's about 4,000 more than 2024, the last primary at this time. Also, so a big surge there. Here at this particular vote center, they've had around 730, 740 ballots cast at this location, and that is again ahead of the past primary. Unclear if the rain this afternoon had an impact at all on the number of people coming in to vote today overall, but again, not an issue here. And this final hour is definitely seeing a boost in numbers as voters get off work. Also, early voting, we've been reporting, it's seen a huge surge. Numbers are way up, nearly double previous primaries here in Marion County. In fact, there have been nearly as many early voters this year as in each of the previous two primaries combined. That's a big deal because Indiana's primary turnout is usually among the lowest in the country, especially in non-presidential election years like this one. But not an issue today. We are seeing that voter surge. As for any issues at the polls, we really haven't heard of many today. One polling location in Lawrence did have to open late because of an issue with an inspector in a car crash. But other than that, no major issues here. And again, the lines are starting to come in as that last hour wanes for you to be able to cast your ballot. All right, let's check in with my colleague now, Emily Longnecker, who's at Democratic headquarters in Marion County. Emily?
Hi, Jenny. Well, you know, you were talking about high voter turnout in Marion County, and one of the things that could be driving that high voter turnout is the number of options on the ballot this year when it comes to who will be running in November to represent Indiana's 7th congressional district. Now, right now, that seat is held by longtime incumbent Congressman Andre Carson. He's held the seat for 18 years, and this primary season, he is facing 3 challengers who think that is long enough. Let's take a look at a map of the 7th district. It encompasses most of Marion County, including the 6th most northern townships of Marion County. This year, there are 4 candidates on the Democratic side running: incumbent Congressman Andre Carson. Then we have attorney George Hornado, a longtime political strategist for Democrats; Destiny Wells, a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. She also ran for Secretary of State and Attorney General. And we have former Center Township Constable Denise Paul Hatch. On the Republican side, there are 2 candidates: Patrick McCauley, he works in real estate, and Filippo Rios, whose Facebook indicates that he plans to run for president in 2028. Now, the 7th district, we should remember, is drawn heavily to favor Democrats. So whoever wins this Democratic primary tonight is thought to be a strong candidate in November in the general election. And Carson faced several primary challenges in 2008 when he first ran for this seat. But since then, he has not faced significant competition for this seat, at least when it comes to the primaries. And when he has faced a primary challenger, he usually wins by a pretty large margin. Now these 3 other candidates in the race means that that margin could be whittled down. How much is the question? And can any one of these 3 challengers whittle down that number enough to beat him here tonight in the primary? We'll see once the polls close and the votes are counted. Certainly the number of choices for this race, though, possibly driving up that high voter turnout when it comes to Marion County. Now we're going to go live to my colleague Alex Almanza. He is in Mooresville. He's covering the race for the 4th congressional district, and also there a longtime incumbent is facing some opposition. Alex?
Yeah, District 4, obviously, a very Republican area that's been held for several decades, and especially when it comes to the person that is holding that seat right now. Jim Baird has is kind of touting that experience that he brings in. He also brings a Trump endorsement. Meanwhile, his opposition, Craig Haggard, is kind of saying that he wants to bring a new approach, kind of a new status quo to the race. So obviously, that's one of the biggest that we're seeing right now in terms of this race in District 4. Very Republican, but in terms of the Republican ticket, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. So a lot of voters are out here today. It is obviously a very cold evening. People are just getting off of work, but there is still less than an hour until the polls close. And what we've seen here, especially in Mooresville, is people are coming out. They are waiting in these long lines, and it's even spilling outside at times into the sidewalk. So people are energized. People want to get out and vote, and here in Mooresville, that's certainly true. So certainly something to keep an eye on. And again, it's one thing we're keeping an eye on is the race between Craig Haggard and Jim Baird. Again, Jim Baird has the Trump endorsement, and Craig Haggard actually has the endorsement from Todd Rokita. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. We're going to send it back to you, and we'll keep an eye on the voter turnout here in Mooresville.
Alex, thank you.
And the 4th district also has a crowded Democratic field. 8 candidates are hoping to be the one on the ballot in November.
That candidate will be the first Democrat to represent that area in decades. So times definitely are changing in the 4th district.
And as we've mentioned, there are 7 state Senate races to watch closely tonight.
Those races include current Republican senators. Those are the ones that went against President Trump's administration when it came to that battle over redrawing the lines, redistricting. Dustin Grove joins us live from the newsroom right now with a look at those races. This is what has the national conversation with the spotlight on the state of Indiana, Dustin.
It does, Anne Marie. Millions of dollars have been spent on these state Senate races, which is pretty much unheard of. Really quickly, I want to say, at Impact Politics just posted, the Indiana State Senate has seen $13.5 million in ad spending for its primaries this cycle, a 4,736% increase from the last cycle. So that gives you an idea of how much money has poured into these races and how much weight Republicans have put into them. And a lot of that money has been spent on advertising, on attacks targeting the incumbents, attack ads, including State Senate District 21, Republican incumbent James Buck trying to hold on to his seat. Republican challenger Tracy Powell endorsed by President Trump. Now let's show you a map here of the other districts we have that are involved. Senate District 1 up in Northwest Indiana, District 11 in the South Bend area. You got District 23 in Lafayette, Senator Spencer Deary up there trying to hold on to his seat. District 38 in Terre Haute with Greg Good, and District 41 in Bartholomew County. So this really will be a national litmus test, if you will, because Trump endorsements typically carry a lot of weight. We'll see how much weight that carries, all the money, all the time, all the energy spent on trying to flip these seats. Will it work? And you can bet, Felicia and Anne Marie, that lawmakers in other states will be watching to see what happens here tonight.
For sure. All right, we're going to have live coverage, Dustin, throughout the night. We're going to be streaming for you after we finish our coverage here on Channel 13 for the next 90 minutes. Then we're going to be switching over to WTHR+.
And that's where we will keep you updated on the results there, as well as on WTHR.com and on 13 News at 11.